I'm Hannibal. Welcome to it. As you may know, some of you who have been following along, I have been reading chapters from my book across the table. I recorded a version of one of the chapters, and the chapter was called Propriety, Class, and Card Tricks. And it revolves around a particular trick from my routine that's been there for quite some time. Got its development in comedy clubs and Renaissance festivals and bars that I used to perform at back in the day. The particular trick I'm referring to is known in the business as the cards across. Cards move from one place to another. That's basically it. I developed a routine around it that was inspired and somewhat taught by a vaudeville magician by the name of Johnny Paul. I learned the effect from him, the way his handling was. I changed the handling to fit myself. I changed the routine and the attitude to fit my own personality. And it's served me really, really well for a couple of decades now. This chapter deals with something that happened during a corporate event while I was performing what I now call Roadhouse. In my version, in the way that Johnny Paul taught it to me, the cards are placed by a female volunteer who is on stage. She places the cards within her blouse. It gained a reputation. A number of my clients loved that I had it in there. There was a time when I took it out for corporate shows because I felt it was more appropriate in bars and in Renaissance festivals and in nightclubs and places like that. It served a better purpose there. And I thought maybe it crossed the line a little bit in corporate shows. But a number of my clients were like, why didn't you do the bra trick? That's one of the reasons I hired you, because I really love that bit and you didn't put it in this act. So I developed levels of let's call it boldness with the effect itself. And I could tone it way down, or I could play it up a little higher. It never crossed the line into blue material or into bawdy material. It was edgy, but it wasn't dirty, if you understand what I'm saying. Here's the story. I was hired to work at a resort in the mountains of North Carolina. A very high-profile client had scheduled a party there, and the party planner, the event planner for that particular resort, recommended me and brought me in as part of their entertainment. Wonderful. Love to do it. I love working corporate audiences, and we have a good time with it. When I arrived at the venue, and I was setting up, the event planner, who I'd worked with several times, came up to me, took me aside, and said, "Look, H, we're gonna have to change your act for tonight." And my initial response inside, my initial reaction inside was, "Really? Are we? I'm listening. I get to make those choices myself, but I'll listen to what you have to say. You're the boss, of course, So she says, "Look, that thing you do with the boobs." And I'm like, all right, I know what you're talking about, but it's not really with the boobs. But I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. She says, that trick you do with, you can't do it tonight. I said, all right, I'm still listening. If you look at the contract, and very kindly, in a very kind way, I said, if you look at the contract, you'll see that I make those final decisions. But tell me why. I'm interested. What makes you think it wouldn't be appropriate for tonight? And, of course, she's seen me before. She knows exactly where my lines are. She said, well, here's the thing. The CEO and his wife are making a surprise appearance. They flew over from England this afternoon, and they're going to be making a surprise appearance tonight at the dinner. None of the employees know they're coming. It's going to be a big surprise, and it's a whole big deal for the company because they're celebrating I think it was like their 20th year in business or something. And she said they're very conservative. The gentleman and his wife are very, very conservative, and they are very easily offended. If you do that particular trick, they are going to get offended. My client is going to get embarrassed. I'm going to get embarrassed, and you won't ever work for me again. And I thought to myself, well, that's pretty serious. That's a pretty heavy-duty thing. And I told her, I said, okay, I understand. I understand the circumstances. I understand all of us and our level of peril and where our boundaries are. I understand that. The issue is that particular trick in that particular act sets up a routine that comes after it. I could still do the same routine, but it wouldn't have the impact if I don't do Roadhouse, which is the name of the trick, before I go into that thing. It'll lessen. I said, look, I can do it where it's not as edgy. I can pull it back. I said, but let me read the audience. I'm very good at that. Let me read the audience and decide what level they are at. Side note, within the act, in the normal cards across, cards are placed into a pocket or between someone's hands or in an impossible place for the magician to get to them. The humor in this is that the cards are over the lady's heart. There's no way I can get there to them without her noticing, and yet the cards move from one lady to the other. I've done it hundreds, maybe thousands of times. But if it comes down to it and I feel that someone is going to be uncomfortable, I will 100% have them put it in their pocket instead. The humor is going to be wherever the humor is. Cut forward to the party. Everything's set up, and I'm going to tell you, this crowd was alive. They were amazing. I was putting things out. They were feeding back beautifully. We had a great rapport going on. The CEO and his wife are sitting right down front at a table right down front, and they are everything that the lady said they were going to be. They were very, very conservative with their laughter, but they were warming up and they were really getting into it. And I'm not a dirty act. I'm an edgy act, but I'm not a dirty act. So the kick-in line for the Roadhouse trick is, all right, I need a woman. That's not really your problem, but I need a lady from the audience to come up and join me on stage. The CEO's wife rocketed out of her chair. I mean, she pushed out and she launched herself towards the stage. Pick me! Pick me! No one ever chooses me for anything. They think I'm good. They think I'm going to mess it up or something, but I really want to be in your act. You're so funny. And she's babbling as she's running towards the stage. And okay, I'm fine with that. She's a bit more enthusiastic than the normal person I would pick, but okay. She's obviously she's in a position of high visibility. People are going to know who she is, and there'll be a lot more focus now. As she's running up to the stage, I take a good close look. Now, with all respect, she was kind of a cross between like Margaret Thatcher, Queen Elizabeth, and Mrs. Doubtfire. She was a very confident, very expressive woman, and just lovely. But she's wearing a white outfit, a white suit, dress with a jacket, lovely hat, very English in appearance is the point I'm trying to get across. And there are no pockets. I can see from her outfit there are no pockets on this lady's outfit. And I thought to myself, okay, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll just have them holding her hands or whatever, and everything will be cool. That'll be awesome. She comes up to the stage, and I welcome her. I help her up the steps. She stands beside me. We have a moment of banter back and forth, and she's so into it. She's such a lovely human being, and she's just really, really having fun. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to be up here by yourself. I'd like for you to choose any other lady in the audience that you know that you would like to have come and stand with you to help me with my next little effort. And she looks around for a moment, and she points out to the audience, and she says, Susan, it has to be you. You love being up in front of people, and you're stunning, and you should be up here. And Susan gets up, and Susan looks like a young Jessica Simpson. Susan, as she's making her way up to the stage, CEO's wife looks at her and says, "Oh, you look stunning. You look like a streetwalker coming up here. You're fabulous. Everyone's going to love you." And of course, the crowd is laughing and they're having fun. And I thought, she just called one of her husband's employees a streetwalker. I think I got a little more leeway than I normally have. Okay, like I said, Susan looked like a young Jessica Simpson, and she's wearing a very tight sheath dress in bright red, and she looks stunning. She really, really does. Also, no pockets in this dress. I'm kind of like, all right, we'll see what happens. We're gonna go forward and we'll see what happens. But like I said, because of the conversation and the way that Hilda, her name was Hilda, was acting, I felt I had a little bit more space. But I'm still going to play it safe, because boundaries. So I have Hilda count out she counts out 10 cards into my hand. She hands the deck over to Susan, and I give her the 10 cards, and I say, place these somewhere that I can't get to them. And I leave the language vague like that. Now, she has every option in the world. She can put them in her hat. She can tuck them into her shoes. She can hold them between her hands. I'm pretty safe no matter what she decides to do. My hope, of course, because this is the way the trick is written, my hope is that she places them down her blouse. I've seen them put cell phones in there. I've seen them put small purses in there. I figure it's a good chance that's what she'll opt to do. And I was wrong. I was really very, very wrong. I had misjudged this woman so much more than normal. I mean, I'll hit a miss every once in a while, but this time I really misunderstood or underestimated her sense of fun. Hilda looks at the cards in her hand, and she looks at me, and she gives this little sly smile. She hooks her thumb into the waistband of her skirt, takes the cards, and plunges them deep into her crotch, inside the skirt, inside whatever she had under the skirt, tucks them deep. And when I say deep, I mean she went for it. And I deadpanned. I looked at her, and I turned back, and I looked at the audience, and I just deadpanned the moment, because the entire audience lost it, just howled in laughter. They shook the room. I mean, they were pounding on the tables. She put her hands on her hips and said, "I'd like to see what you're going to do now." And when she did that, the laughter doubled. Her husband, the CEO, the staunch conservative leader of this particular company, laughed so hard that he literally slid out of his chair and under the table. And then it got better. When the laughter started to die down, and I felt it was about time to take back control, because I let it roll. I just let it go. It was a perfect moment that created itself, and thank God for her. Thank God for her. I looked back during part of the laughter, and my boss, the event coordinator, was standing about halfway back along the wall, and she was shaking her head and laughing so hard that she had tears coming out of her eyes. And I gave her a thumbs up, and she gave me an okay, and so I knew everything was just cheddar cheese, you know. So I turned over to Susan, and Susan is looking at the deck in her hand, and she says, "Are you going to have me do the same thing?" And before I could answer that, she says, "Because I can't do what she did, I'm not wearing any underwear." And she said that out loud into the microphone that was on my jacket. And of course, everyone in the audience heard her say that, and the laughter again swelled. And people just, they went on for a good 2 or 3 minutes solid of just this wave after wave of laughter. One of the greatest, funniest moments I've ever had spontaneously happen on a stage. So what do we gain from this? What does this story have to do with? Well, first of all, when you're a live performer, always expect the unexpected. Second, always go with your instincts. Learn to trust them. Become good at your craft and know what you're doing, and understand that, you know, where the boundaries are. But be willing to follow your gut instinct. Had I decided to cut it out altogether, we would have all missed that moment. Had I been too afraid to use the CEO's wife, we would have missed that moment. Had I tried to dominate the stage or control her in any way, it wouldn't have gone nearly as well. Letting her be herself, allowing her that moment, and not stepping on the laughter when it started happening, made the night perfect. I've got a lot of great stories around that particular trick. And lately, it's become problematic. And I'll address that in the next video. And I'll show you why I've decided to do what I'm going to do with Roadhouse, with my favorite trick. I hope you enjoyed the story. It is available inside Across the Table in a slightly different version, slightly different toned down version, but the same story, along with dozens of other stories from my time along the road. Available directly from me. There will be a link in the comments. Please subscribe if you like the story. Hit the like. I've got lots of stories to tell you, so I hope you'll stick around. And I hope there's love where you are.